All right, I think we're on. So Chad Taylor here, coming at you live. And this video today is going to be about lights in the firmament. And for those of you guys that have already been watching this series, doing a video every single day on various topics. And we've already done the firmament, the circle of the earth, and where is God. This video is about lights in the firmament. What does that mean? And so if we look, we're looking through this book, Where Are We, Earth According to the Bible, is reference. Spent a whole ton of time looking up lots of subjects in the Bible dealing with Earth. Basically, where is Earth? What is Earth? How is Earth described in the Bible? Where is heaven? And where is God? So, lights in the firmament. Here we go. So, this is from page 208. Lights in the firmament. What is that? What does that mean? So, the sun, moon, and stars are inside the firmament, which we already covered the other day. And so a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, I've heard quite a few people get hung. I'm sorry if you hear a ding. Hopefully that's not coming through. Why is that coming through? Well, I guess it's live. All right, I'm not sure how to shut that off, so if you guys can hear that, it is what it is. So, all right. So I've heard people talk about with the firmament and there being layers to the firmament, and the sun and moon and stars are inside these layers of the firmament because it says in the firmament. Well, you know what? The other day I went to a Mariners game and I was in a stadium, and I'm pretty sure I was not in the walls of the stadium, but I was in the stadium. Earlier today I was in a car. That doesn't mean I was somehow smushed in the quarter panels of the car or shoved inside the fuel tank. I was in a car earlier today, and a lot of you guys probably were too, in a stadium. And so I don't see how a lot of the scriptures will make sense if you to think of somehow, you know, the sun, moon, and stars are somehow inside layers of the firmament. I have never seen any scriptures to support any kind of layers of the firmament. I could be completely wrong, but I doubt it. So I think there's a lot of issues with that. I think there's a lot of problems. So sun, moon, and stars being in the firmament. And so that brings us to page 8, for instance, right here, page 8. Let's check this out. So, let there be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let there be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. So, the two great lights, we covered this the other day, but they were placed in the firmament. So, there is that, and there are, like I said, you can see here, there are quite a few examples of just that. You can look up these other pages. The sun has a course that it runs. So the sun, moon, and stars, you know, dealing with the lights in the firmament are referring to sun, moon, and stars. And so the course that it runs, here is the course. So this is Psalm 19:1, which we actually covered on a different subject. So their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words. Let me read an easier version to read here. To the end of the word. In the heavens he has sent a tent for the sun. So picture a tent for the sun being the firmament, a tent for the sun. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple stuff here. And which comes out like a bridegroom from his wedding canopy, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them. So, well, this subject doesn't make any sense when you think of it with the standard worldview that we're taught growing up. It makes absolutely no sense. How's the sun run a course? And but here, you can see how the sun runs its course right over here. Let me zoom in here. You can see the sun running its course, and you know, from the end of heaven. So, and on day, what is that? Day 2, with the firmament being in place, it was referred to as heaven. Also, so when you hear the word heaven, you got to decide which heaven is it talking about. The firmament is described as being called heaven also. So the end of heaven, the end of these heavens also over here. So the first and second heaven, this layer here, all this stuff is referred to as heavens as well. So the end, there is an end over here, and over here, the end of the heavens, end of the world. I think it talks about the end of the world here, and ends of heaven. And a heaven, circuit to the end. So, and circuit also, if you look that up, is the route traveled is a circuit. So a course also. So the sun, moon, and stars all have a course. I think this one's just talking about the sun, but there's other verses that talk about the circuit of the sun, moon, and stars and the course that they go on. So there's a course, and then let's move on here. So the next subject, sun, moon, and stars are above the earth. So let's check that out here. Page 94. So this is a great one where Joshua commands the sun and moon to stand still, and this talks about the actual location. Say the sun stands still at Gibeon and moon in the valley of Ajalon, if that's how you pronounce that. And so it's giving the actual locations where the sun and the moon stopped over. And when you think about this in the worldview, how would that possibly work? If the sun and moon were to stop, from what we're taught in school, that would mean the earth would have to stop rotating, which means, everybody would be wiped out. But it was no big deal. They had their battle, it waged on, and that was that. And then at some point in time, it sped it back. At some point in time, they went back on their course, and that was that. But if the earth was spinning and stopped, everybody would be wiped out, obviously. So here we go, moving along. Ecclesiastes 1:9. So this is another thing where the sun and moon are above the earth. This dealing with the sun. In Ecclesiastes, check this out. In the King James Version, move over, please. In the King James Version of Ecclesiastes, under the sun is used 29 times, under the heaven is used twice, and under heaven is used once. So you can check out all of these times that under the sun is used. This is just in Ecclesiastes. Under the sun, under the sun, under the sun. So that was written by Solomon, as far as I know. And Solomon was, King Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, is what he's been known as. And the wisest man that ever lived was either a complete moron or he knew something that most of us don't know. So, all right. And then the other thing, let's look this up here. The moon gives off its own light. Let's check this out. So we got 8, 10, all these different examples. So let's see. Yep, right here. So the moon gives off no light. The sun gives off no light. And check this out here. So for the stars of the heavens and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark at its rising, and the moon will not shed its light. So it didn't say reflecting the sun's light. It said shed its light. Shed its light. The moon will not shed its light. Will cause her. So a lot of times in the King James, the sun is referred to in a masculine. The moon is a feminine in the King James. It's the only version I've seen where it's like that. The other one, it just says it's the moon. But King James is masculine, feminine. Not sure why. I'm sure some of you guys probably do, but anyway, cause her light to shine. So if you guys aren't familiar, if you guys have done the cold test with the UV light, that's pretty amazing. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get off topic here. All right, next we have the topic of can stop in the sky. So we already established that the sun in Joshua stopped in the sky as well. Here's another part in Isaiah where the sun actually stopped, went backwards 10 degrees. Some versions say backward 10 steps, and then at some point continued back on. So another thing that in the standard worldview that we're taught growing up would not make sense. This makes no sense. So all these kind of examples, you have to somehow twist this. Well, it's just an allegory, Chad. It's just an analogy. No, it's just what the Bible says, and you choose not to believe it. I'm sorry. It's this all day long. I'm going to beat this to death. But it's these all day long. We look through, we read our Bible with these big goofy glasses on, and we see our world here. Oh, there's Antarctica even. This is how we see our worldview. Chad, it's just an analogy. It's just an analogy. No. It's just what the Bible says. So, all right. They can stop in the sky. Also, the next one, same thing here. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. This is Habakkuk 3:11. I'm sorry, let's see here. Habakkuk 3:11. The sun and moon stood still in their habitations. So this is This is a pretty awesome one there. With God coming down. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shining of thy glittering spear. All right. Now this one is about the, let's see. Bear with me here. This is about the sun and moon darkening also, and then also the stars falling to earth. Let's see. Here we go. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, not the sun's light, its light, and the stars will fall from heaven. So all of the stars, and this is far from the only verse that talks about the stars falling to earth. There's many, many verses that talk about this. And the powers of the heavens will be shaken. That's another topic for another day, which I'm sure I'll cover that on another video. Then will appear in the heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes there shall mourn. So this is what we're discussing here, though, is the sun and moon not giving their light and the stars falling to earth. So all the lights in the firmament, kind of understand the better description of that. So, and then, there can be life without the sun. That's another interesting subject. We'll think about on day 3, where the grass and all the herb yielding seeds and all that came about. Well, that was before the sun and moon and stars were placed inside of the firmament, were placed in. So you got to wonder, and also in the future, look at Revelation, is the sun and moon aren't there anymore. They're not shining. So all the light on the earth comes from God himself. So you got to think that just his light, his glory, will sustain. So all of this is kind of backwards from the way we're taught from the world. And then let's see here. So there we have it. Stop from shining. I think we got it. So, all right, that was Lights in the Firmament. Just a brief introduction, and thank you guys so much for checking this out. We're just scratching the surface here. We'll get in depth down the road, but just want to give you guys a brief description. So we'll catch you tomorrow.